The old lift shuddered to a halt between floors, plunging them into darkness. The emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows that danced on the grimy walls. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each thud echoing the unsettling squeak of the stalled elevator. My breath hitched as I pressed the alarm button, willing the operator to come and rescue me from this metal box suspended between heaven and hell. It was late, close to midnight. The office was deserted and I was running out of time. I needed to get out of here before the night shift came in, or I'd never hear the end of it. Mr. Williams, our boss, was already a stickler for rules and regulations, and being caught in the elevator after hours would surely earn me his wrath. But my predicament was about to become much worse because when the operator finally arrived, he brought with him an unwelcome guest, a guest who had turned my night into a horrifying nightmare. "Sorry about that," the operator said, his voice crackling over the intercom. There was another passenger in the lift. Before I could respond, the doors slid open and a tall, gaunt man stepped out. His face was obscured by the dim light, but I could make out his hunched shoulders and the dragging of his feet. It was like watching a zombie come to life right before my eyes. Then he turned. My blood ran cold. His face was pale as a sheet, devoid of any features. 2 black holes where his eyes should have been stared back at me accusingly. His mouth was a twisted slash across his face, a permanent grin that never reached his soulless eyes. He took a step towards me and I instinctively recoiled, pressing myself against the wall. "Don't be scared," the operator said, sensing my terror. "He's harmless, just a bit, special." Special, that was one way to put it. I wanted to scream, to claw my way out of there, but couldn't. I was frozen with fear, trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape. The man loomed closer and I shut my eyes tight, bracing for the worst. But instead of the pain I expected, I felt a cold, bony hand on my shoulder. Then I heard a voice, not the man's voice, but the voice of the operator. "Sorry, gotta go," he said urgently. "See you later." And then he was gone, leaving me alone with the ghastly apparition. When I finally mustered the courage to open my eyes, the man was gone. Had I imagined the whole thing? Was I going crazy? I looked around frantically, but there was no sign of him. Just as I began to calm down, the lights flickered again and the doors opened. I rushed out of the elevator, not bothering to hide my face. I had to get away from that cursed contraption. As I stumbled down the hallway, I heard the sound of dragging footsteps behind me. I didn't dare look back. I just kept walking, my heart pounding in my chest, until I reached the relative safety of my apartment. I slammed the door shut and locked it, leaning against it with trembling hands. What had I just experienced? Was it a hallucination brought on by stress or something more sinister? The next morning, I went back to the office to find out what everyone else knew about the haunted elevator. Some of the newer employees looked at me like I was crazy when I mentioned the ghost. Apparently, he only showed himself to me. But the older employees exchanged worried glances. Yes, they knew about the ghost, they said, but no one had seen him in years. They too had heard stories about the building's former owner who had died mysteriously in the elevator. Some said he'd been murdered, others that he'd taken his own life. No one knew for sure, but everyone agreed that his presence lingered in the building, most notably in the elevator. After hearing their stories, I wasn't so sure I believed in coincidences anymore, and I certainly wasn't taking any chances. From that day forward, I avoided the elevator after dark. I didn't want to see the ghost again, not after seeing the fear in the eyes of the old employees. They knew what it meant to encounter the ghost. It wasn't just a chilling experience. It was a warning, a sign that something terrible was about to happen. And I wasn't willing to test fate